What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're watching why Canadians go ballistic during war. Now, I'm Canadian and I've never been to war, so I don't know exactly what it's about, what it's like. Obviously, I watch videos like everybody else. We all watch videos. To actually be there and know exactly how it's like, never been. So we're gonna watch this video and see why the Canadians go ballistic in war. I don't know, so we're gonna find out.
Do Canadians go ballistic in war? Ah, Canadians. We all know the stereotype. Nice, friendly, and extreme.
Oh, hi there, eh? Oh, don't you know about Canada, eh? Live in my igloo, eh?
Apologetic. If you're fighting them, though, avoid them at all costs, because for some strange reason, these usually calm maple leaf lovers go absolutely ballistic when there's a war on. Trench raids. In World War I, the only thing scarier than going on a trench raid was to be on the receiving end of a Canadian one. Soon after their deployment, the Canucks earned a fearsome reputation as enthusiastic and innovative practitioners of this brutal art. To maximize stealth, they were known to blacken their faces and to wear thick rubber gloves. They also brought along with them a variety of handmade weapons to optimize their killing effectiveness, such as spiked clubs, knives, and brass knuckles, to allow them to take out enemies silently. Alternatively, pipe bombs and grenade catapults were used if they preferred to go in guns blazing. On operation, the Canadians tore through trenches so quickly and with such cold-blooded efficiency that by the end of the war, they were able to reach up to 1 kilometer behind enemy lines. Their speed and ferocity earned them the nicknames from the terrified Germans, ranging from stormtroopers to wild colonials. The savage determination of the Canadians was most on show in the 4 months leading up to the Battle of Vimy Ridge, where they conducted 55 raids. The most disastrous of these happened in March of 1917, involving over 1,300 soldiers, despite suffering an appalling 43% casualty rate and being constantly gassed. One group of raiders was able to clear a 450-meter section of the German trench. Killing prisoners of war. When they weren't going on deadly nighttime raids, the Canadians could usually be found slaughtering prisoners of war. Shockingly, in World War I, the murder of German POWs.
I did not know this. I did not know Canada was crazy like this, man. I thought maybe the Americans, maybe the Germans, you know, but the Canadians, I just thought they went there to help, and they did a good job helping. You know what I mean? I didn't know they were going nuts.
Was actively encouraged by some commanders. Before the attack on Vimy Ridge, for instance, one soldier recalled how an officer told him, "Remember, no prisoners, they'll just eat your rations." Having to share already limited food supplies was just one of the reasons why most preferred to shoot rather than capture. But the most powerful justifications were revenge and—
Buddy, imagine your sergeant telling you, kill them, because if you don't, they're going to eat your food. And we only got a limited portion. So if you want to share, share. But they're eating the food as well. It's like, damn, man, now I got to put it on my conscience. Like, okay, I'm going to starve for people I don't really know, or I'm going to kill somebody I don't really know. Man.
And battle rage. In a typical account, one lieutenant would recall how, after losing half of his company to machine gun fire, his surviving men rushed to the battery that had caused the damage to find the Germans inside crying and with their hands up. Unmoved, they proceeded to mercilessly bludgeon and shoot them to death.
Oh no. Canada, why?
On one occasion, a German rushed to one of his comrades with a bayonet, but then chickened out and surrendered.
Oh man.
In his own words, "Our boy would have none of it. He lunged at the German."
Not gonna lie, if I was in war, I swear I would have a white cloth with me at all times. Yo, like, you gotta swallow your ego and your pride at some point, dog. If you're like, you just take out that white flag and just wave it. Like, I'm done. Don't kill me. I've watched videos of the Ukraine war. And there's times where people surrender and, you know, they say surrender now or we will, you know, and they surrender. And it's like, good, you know, thankfully you surrendered. You're able to survive and see your family one day. You know what I mean? Maybe not like right now, but, you know, eventually you'll be able to see your family. But then there's ones where it's like, come out. And then they say something back. And then it's like they shoot more. Then they shoot back. Grab a nade, toss it. couple more rounds, cleared. It's like, now you're never going to see your family again, man. Now you're never going to see your
German
family.
again and again, who each time lowered his arms and stopped the point of the bayonet with his bare hands. The German was screaming for mercy. Even if a surrendering German somehow survived his initial encounter with a wild colonial, his life was still in great danger. In this regard, one veteran would remember how he once witnessed one of his fellow Canadians turn a German POW into red mist by dropping a live grenade into his greatcoat pocket. Live and let die. During World War I, soldiers carried out.
I mean, I say that, but I don't know who they're doing it to, right? So it's like, I feel bad because to me, I'm just looking at another human, so I feel bad. But trust me, if it was one of the sergeants or commanders in chief, whatever, that was doing it to children and kids and like the scientists or the doctors experimenting on kids and shit and elderly people and women, buddy, that grenade in the pocket was too light of a sentence, man. That was too easy. I would have done something way worse.
Unofficial live and let live policy.
Way worse.
This was an unspoken agreement in which both sides agreed to only attack each other if ordered. The most famous example of this in action was the unofficial 1914 Christmas Day
I remember
truce,
this story.
in which thousands of combatants from both sides exchanged gifts, sang carols, and mingled with each other for a few hours.
That's so nice, you know, that they did that. But at the same time, it's like you're sitting beside an enemy and you're like, oh, you know, Merry Christmas, whatever, you know, celebrating Holiday Day. And you're looking at his face, you know, and like tomorrow I'm probably going to shoot you in the face or you're going to shoot me. You know what I mean? Like, that is
The next year, though, the Canucks were
War
on the
is
front
crazy.
lines, and unlike their allies, live and let live was not in their vocabulary. Among their number were the troops of the 3rd Battalion, who were stationed in the Ypres salient on the Western Front. In the spirit of the previous year, voices from the opposing trench wished them a happy Christmas, and some of the friendlier Canucks returned the greetings. After a couple of minutes, men from both sides had raised their heads above the dugouts, and an older, whiskered man was invitingly waving a box of cigars. Moments later, a Canadian sergeant ruined Christmas by dispatching 2 Germans with his machine gun. Of
Why?
course, this wouldn't be the last time the Germans of the Great War were tricked into a false sense of security by their heartless North American foe. In one particularly cruel episode,
What an asshole.
Canuck troops
That's
tossed
asshole,
tins
man.
of corned beef into a German trench. Then, when they heard their requests for more, they lobbed grenades at them instead. As the stories so far have illustrated, for some reason, Canadians went absolutely bananas in World War I. But why were they so angry? Some historians have argued their ruthlessness was an emotional response to a battlefield rumor about the so-called crucified Canadian, an officer who was supposedly crucified to a barn door near Ypres. Others have speculated their thirst for revenge drew from their traumatic experience at the harrowing 1915 Second Battle of Ypres, during which Canadians took the brunt of the first ever German poison gas attack of the war. The best explanation, however, may be the simple fact that Canadians were brutalized more than any others because they were always being placed in the first wave of attacks.
Oh no, what? You put Canadians first in line, yo, as like the spray line, yo, like you're gonna get sprayed off, yo, and you just, man, I take back everything I said, yo. That, yo, Canadians, do your worst, man. Do what you gotta do, man. This is bullshit, yo. There's no way, yo. There's no way, yo. They just constantly just put Canadians up at the front line every time, yo. Man, I'm killing everybody, everything, in any horrible ass way, yo.
Juno
Oh,
Beach.
yo.
By the close of the Great War, the Canadians had gone from a relatively unknown fighting force to one of the planet's most feared and respected military outfits. This hard-earned reputation that they would enter the killing war too, to face off against a German army reinforced
New
by
generations
elite units
whack.
with a strangely familiar name, Stormtroopers. On June 6, 1944, the Canadians reminded everyone of their elite status when they pulled off what's considered one of the most tactically successful operations of D-Day. Their objective was to storm Juno Beach and then seize the cities of Caen and Bayeux with 14,000 soldiers and 1,000 paratroopers. During the first wave, 3,000 lion-hearted Canadians rushed towards German pillboxes, taking heavy casualties. They were then followed in by tanks, which obliterated most of the German beach defenses, allowing infantrymen to swarm in and begin close-quarters fighting. Impressively, it took them less than 2 hours to secure their first route off the beach at the small town of Courcelles. By the end of the day, Courcelles-sur-Mer, Saint-Aubin-sur-Mer, and Colombier-sur-Soleil had all fallen, and the tank regiment of the 1st Hussars were at the Cannes-Bayou highway intersection, making them the only Allied unit on D-Day to actually reach their final objective.
Wow.
The Devil's Brigade. In World War II, the Canadians distinguished themselves not only as dependable infantrymen, but also as skilled commandos in a joint American-Canadian unit called the 1st Special Service Force, better known as the Devil's Brigade, or the Black Devils. The Devil's Brigade was formed in June 1942 and had only accepted individuals into its ranks who were already well acquainted with survival and the outdoors. As a result, former skiers, parachutists, hunters, lumberjacks, trappers, and game wardens made up the majority of its personnel. These hard and rugged men were transformed into killing machines via a brutal training regime that involved 100-mile speed marches and specialist training with all sorts of weapons, explosives, and vehicles. To strike fear into their enemies' hearts on the battlefield, they placed a calling card on the dead, emblazoned with the phrase, "The worst is yet to come," in German. The Black Devils were assigned the most dangerous assignments, with one of their most iconic missions taking place in December of 1943 at the mountain peak of Monte la Defensa, southeast of Rome. For about a month, multiple British, Canadian, and American assaults attempting to dislodge the Germans at the top had been wiped out one after the other. By the time the Devil's Brigade arrived on the scene, Monte la Defensa had been battered with over 200,000 shells, earning it the nickname the $1 Million Hill. At 1:30 a.m. on December 3rd, carrying 60-pound rucksacks as well as knives, guns, and bayonets, and with charcoal-blackened faces, 600 men of the 1st Special Service Force began climbing up the near-vertical cliff face as fog and swirling snow enveloped the mountain. A little before 6 a.m., they reached the summit and began quietly slitting the throats of sentries. Then, all of a sudden, a rock slide gave away their position and the enemy opened fire. The fighting was intense and both sides suffered heavy losses, but the battle-hardened Germans were eventually expelled. In a mere 2 hours, the month-long standoff had been ended by a force that was 10 times smaller than the combined Allied force that had up until then failed to take Monte la Defensa. With a little help from the Americans, they had shown that once again, that to mess with a Canadian in wartime is to sign your own death warrant.
Wow, to actually find out that Canadians did all that is it's insane. Like, I didn't know Canadians were so ruthless during war, but obviously come to find out that they were like that because they were put on the front lines every time. And like the story of the guy getting hung on the barn door as like a cross, you know, it do stuff to you. Just war in general, just war, hearing stories, and like even if they're false or real, when people tell you like BS stories and they just get you riled up, you know what I mean? They just make you do dumb shit. But yeah, wow. Canada lets me know that there's ever war in Canada. I know our army is definitely gonna back us up. That's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one.